You probably think that if an idea is just plain wrong, you'd know it, right? I mean, being smart is supposed to protect you from being fooled. But what if I told you that modern psychology shows it's often the complete opposite? In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that is. So let this sink in for a second. This is the central kind of mind-bending idea we're diving into today. The very intelligence you rely on to be logical and see things clearly can actually become your best tool for fooling yourself. The smarter you are, the more creative you can be at justifying your own biases. And here's the really scary part. You almost never see it happening. I know, it seems totally backward, doesn't it? So the big question is, why? Why would our brains, these amazing machines, have a flaw that seems so fundamental?
To answer that, we've got to pop the hood, and look at our brain's basic programming. We need to explore its hidden flaw by first understanding what its true purpose really is. And it might not be what you think.
Okay, so here is the absolute key. We love to think of our minds as these objective, truth-seeking computers. But from an evolutionary point of view, that's just not their main job. Your brain's number one priority isn't accuracy, it's survival. It is built to protect you physically and, just as importantly, socially. And let's be honest, sometimes the truth can feel really, really threatening. So this deep-seated need for protection leads us to a really great metaphor for how our minds actually work. Forget the idea of an impartial scientist in a lab coat. Instead, I want you to picture the mind's inner lawyer. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the ideal, what we think we're doing. The judge. A judge weighs all the evidence impartially and asks a simple question, is this true? But in reality, our brain usually defaults to the role on the right, the lawyer. A lawyer starts with a conclusion already in mind. My client is innocent, and then asks a totally different question. How can I defend this? See the difference? The starting point changes everything. Now, this inner lawyer mode, it has a formal name. It's called motivated reasoning. And just like the definition says, it's our brain's natural tendency to go hunting for arguments that support what we already want to be true, all while, conveniently ignoring or dismissing anything that contradicts it. Our inner lawyer is always on the clock, ready to build a case. You know that feeling, right? That deeply uncomfortable, almost physical twinge in your gut when you hear a fact or an idea that directly attacks one of your core beliefs. Well, that mental pain is a huge clue that something important is happening inside your head. And yep, that feeling has a name too. Cognitive dissonance. It's that mental stress you get from trying to hold two contradictory ideas at the same time. But here's the thing. To get rid of that painful tension, we often don't change our belief. Nope. Instead, we change the story to make the conflict disappear. It just feels safer to rewrite reality than to rewrite who we are. And this is where it all comes together, bringing us right back to that startling idea from the beginning. It's a phenomenon known as the intelligence trap, and it's all about how being smart can actually pour gasoline on this whole fire. So why? Why does being smart make it worse? Well, because a sharp mind gives you a bigger, better toolbox for justification. If your brain is an inner lawyer, then a high IQ is like giving that lawyer a fancy degree from a top law school. You don't see the holes in your own logic. You just build a more elaborate, more complex, and way more convincing story around those holes. We call this rationalization, and believe me, smart people can be absolute masters at it. But this isn't just a quiet battle happening inside your own head. Oh no, there's an even more powerful force at play. Which brings us to our next big idea. Belonging before truth. This is all about the massive social pressure that keeps our beliefs locked down tight. To get this, you have to understand something called confirmation bias. The best way to think about it is like your brain has its own personalized news filter. It actively shows you information that confirms what you already believe while hiding or downplaying anything that doesn't fit. And over time, you don't just have a belief, you end up living inside a custom-built echo chamber for it. And this right here, this says it all. This is the real battleground inside our minds. When push comes to shove, for the human brain, identity is almost always more powerful than facts. The beliefs we defend with the most passion are rarely about spreadsheets and data points. They're about who we are and what group we belong to. So the key takeaway here is this. For our brains, being wrong about something important doesn't just feel like a simple mistake. It can feel like a social death sentence. When a belief is tied to your identity, questioning that belief feels like betraying your family, your community, your tribe. And your brain will protect the group, even if that means protecting a bad idea. Okay, I get it. This all sounds pretty inescapable. Are we just doomed to be prisoners of our own biases? Well, not necessarily. Let's talk about finding the doorway out, a simple, practical way to start thinking a little more clearly. The first, and honestly the most important step, is a total shift in your mindset. The goal can't be about winning every argument or proving you're always right. The real goal is to get good at noticing when your inner lawyer takes over. It's all about catching that moment you switch from being curious to being defensive. So the next time you feel that wall go up, that defensive feeling, just pause and ask yourself this really powerful question. Honestly, what would it actually take to change my mind on this? If your genuine answer is nothing, well, that's a huge red flag that you're in protection mode, not thinking mode. And here is the deeper, follow-up question that gets right to the heart of it all. What would I lose if I were wrong about this? This question cuts right past the data and goes straight for the identity. Would you lose friends? Your sense of who you are? Your place in a community? The answer to that question often reveals the real, hidden reason you're holding on so tight. And this brings us full circle. Remember that feeling of cognitive dissonance we talked about, that mental pain? We have to start seeing it differently. Stop treating it like a threat you need to run away from. That feeling of discomfort is a signal. It's an invitation. It is the doorway to learning, to growing, and ultimately to getting closer to the truth. So I want to leave you with this final thought. The goal isn't to live without any beliefs at all. It's to hold them with an open hand, to be willing to actually look at them. Because, as this so perfectly puts it, the most dangerous belief isn't necessarily a wrong one. It's the one you've decided is completely off limits to ever question at all.